It is so easy to accumulate stuff over time, and when we're living in a space, we often tune it out. We don't tend to notice it. It's kind of like when you're sitting in a room that smells bad and then after 30 minutes you can't really smell it anymore. I think clutter can be a bit like that. And then the key part of this is that just because we don't notice it doesn't mean that the clutter is not affecting us. That's kind of the scary part, that studies show that clutter is linked with things like stress and lower life satisfaction. I want to talk to you a lot more about this, how you can gain back the control, which is what I really want, as well as areas in your home where you might have gone secretly clutter blind, but you might not realize it. So I would really encourage you to stick around. But I'm going to very quickly talk about the sponsor of this video. It's one way I can support the channel, and somehow today's sponsor feels especially providential. Because lately, randomly, I've been getting a number of comments asking about my skincare routine, basically saying I have good skin, which is kind of shocking to me. It almost makes me laugh because in the last few years, I've had a history of just really struggling with my skin. I'll put up some pictures here of my skin before what I'm about to share with you, but basically I've struggled with some very inflamed rosacea, acne, oily yet also dry patchy skin, and I want to share with you my secret solution, which is Proven Skincare. What's funny is I had actually been using Proven Skincare for about a year before they reached out to do a sponsorship. So when they did, again, it just felt like the right timing. I had gotten these comments, and so I want to share with you more about Proven. So first of all, even if you're a minimalist, I don't think that skincare is something you can compromise on. But what's cool is that Proven really streamlines and simplifies your routine by just giving you 3 simple steps. They're multifunctional products that do the job of 12 products. What's unique about Proven is that they have this proprietary quiz called the Skin Genome Quiz that only takes 3 minutes to complete, but it takes into account 47 different factors to make sure that they're creating the best formula for you. It takes into account your own skin concerns, things like if you're concerned about anti-aging, pigmentation, redness, acne, elasticity, or dryness, but it also takes into account your location or your zip code. The formula changes based on the humidity in your air, the hardness of your water, and the UV strength in your area. And after that 3-minute quiz, you can be sent out these 3 beautifully transformative products. They're cleanser, a day moisturizer with SPF, and a night cream. They're clean and toxic free, they don't test on animals, they're free of harsh chemicals. They're also FDA approved and backed by science, which is important to me. And it's also a female-founded company. And I can honestly say that Proven, I think, was the biggest factor in my skin transformation. I'm excited you can get $20 off of your personalized 3-step skincare routine from Proven for a limited time using my code ELIN20. That's ELIN20. So check out the link in the description box below and use my code. Back to the topic of going clutter blind over time. Basically, I think that our standards for what's normal can shift quite dramatically over time, especially throughout the course of our lives. What once felt like a lot can suddenly feel like a lot less. An example for me is when I studied abroad in Copenhagen. I went with just a single suitcase. I lived there for about 6 months and I was totally fine. I did purchase a couple of things while I was there, a secondhand pair of boots and a secondhand silk blouse and maybe a couple other things. And I also loved the items that I had with me there. I loved all my clothes because I had just packed my favorite items. And I remember during that time I felt extra stylish, which is ironic because I actually had way less, but I think it was because I was genuinely wearing my favorite pieces and they weren't getting masked by the other less favorite pieces in my wardrobe back at home. My sense of what's normal has expanded like tenfold. And so I think it's a good reminder for me, first off, when I'm tackling my space, like, hey, remember you used to live with way, way less. Maybe you don't need even half as much as you have. I think that what you'll find as you declutter and you start to live with less is that you actually find more joy in the belongings you have and you're happier. So the question is, how do we change that mindset? How do we get from a place of going clutter blind to being aware of our clutter and doing something about it? Well, I think the biggest thing we can all do is step back and take an honest, critical look at what's in your space. It's what I call taking a humble look at your space, where you go around and you try to look at it with a fresh eye. Imagine you're coming into the space for the first time and just be real with yourself. What actually looks okay here? What have I sort of zoned out over time? What do I not notice anymore? What in your space isn't really that useful or doesn't really add much? And then on top of that, what are the areas in my space that genuinely look bad? Because believe me, I think all of us have a few spots in our homes like this, where there's just an area that's disorganized, that has piles of stuff, and we've just kind of let it sit there, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. I guess I'm just trying to say that taking an honest look at your space is its own task, separate from even decluttering, separate from, reducing impulse shopping or other steps towards minimalism. Taking a look at your space is its own thing, and it takes time and deep self-awareness to be real and to really take the time to scan your space and to recognize the pain points. When you know what you need to get done, when you can actually create a to-do list for decluttering or streamlining, it just becomes a bit easier. It's like you're breaking it down into pieces, into bite-sized chunks, instead of looking at your entire home and just feeling overwhelmed by it all. So now that I've kind of chatted with you about what I'm talking about, I just want to share 7 areas in your home that you might have become clutter blind to, but that you should probably check out, because I know some of these areas have been tough points for me too. The first one is the kitchen counter. This is honestly probably the toughest area to keep clean in someone's home. It's kind of the go-to spot to put papers, to put belongings, to put the shopping bags, but it's also where you're cooking, where you're dealing with pots and pans, things that can mold over or get gross, when you have a pile of dishes, that adds to the clutter. But what I'm talking about is beyond that transitory clutter. I'm talking about the clutter that's always there, because I think sometimes we can become very clutter blind to what's in our kitchen all the time. I have to say, I'm kind of proud. I used to be someone who always had a toaster on my counter, but lately I've been putting it away, keeping it in a drawer. Similarly, I tend to put away my Chemex coffee maker as well as my water heater, usually at least when I'm not using them, and that has really cleared off the space, which is important to me also because I have a somewhat smaller kitchen, and so that territory is in high demand for when I'm cooking, but it's also just made the entire kitchen feel more streamlined and more serene and peaceful. Another common pain point, I think, is desks. If you have a desk at home that you work at a lot, sometimes we end up just keeping a whole thing of pens and pencils out, or just a bunch of doodads out and about, or a bunch of piles of paper out and about all the time. I don't know about you, but I feel like when my desk is more inviting, it's just so much more pleasant to get started on work. A third one is your refrigerator. We're back to the kitchen, but I have to underline, I think messy, chaotic refrigerators can subliminally add chaos to your kitchen space. And now I get it, especially if you have kids and they have artwork you want to put on there, or if there are real reminders that help you. I get it. Do what works for you. But in general, quite often for me, I used to just put pictures up that would stay there for months and months and be super out of date. Often when they're up there for many months, I don't even notice them anymore. But they're probably actually adding to stress because it just makes my kitchen look messy. So I've noticed that as I've kept my refrigerator mostly clear, maybe a couple things now and again, but mostly clear, I feel like I am a professional kitchen person. I don't even know what that means, but I feel like I know what I'm doing in my kitchen. I feel like I'm almost in a hotel some of the time. It just feels more luxurious to be in there when I don't have a bunch of hodgepodgey stuff that's been there for a year on the fridge. A fourth common clutter trap is your laundry area. If you do have a washer and dryer in your home, so often I think it's easy to just have an automatic hamper that always sits there, that always has stuff in it. And sometimes it's the same stuff that just doesn't move for weeks or even months. If it's been sitting there for months and months and months, maybe it's even a sign you possibly could declutter the contents. Again, though, this is something I still occasionally deal with, so I'm not trying to point fingers here. The fifth category is decorative pieces, especially those on shelves or surfaces. I think so often these really melt into the background and you forget all about them. You don't even notice them until maybe a guest comments on them and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that. Yeah, I got them from blah, blah, blah. But so often the little trinkets that we initially purchased to make a space look better end up actually adding to the chaos. So just take a critical eye at surfaces and decorative pieces And think about whether they're still in style, whether you still like them, and whether they potentially add to the chaos. Another sore spot might be collections related to hobbies or interests. It could be a workshop area or a craft corner. It could be tech or books, but think about what your interests are and maybe the categories of things that you tend to just hold on to because you think you might use in the future. I know I struggle with keeping too much tech sometimes, like little things for creating these videos or for my podcasting work, because there's often that feeling of like, what if I need this in the future? What if my main options don't work anymore? Think about what hobbies or kind of categorical areas of stuff you tend to accumulate because of a genuine interest, but that maybe you hold on to for maybe too long because of that interest. But a seventh and arguably most important area to keep an eye on are the spaces that you see first when you enter your home. Or maybe there aren't clutter zones when you first enter, but they are where you tend to spend the most time. So just especially, I guess, be aware of the areas that you see first or where you spend the most time, because that's where the clutter is going to affect you most and also affect your guests most. Even if you have some clutter areas packed away or kind of in the back of your home, if you have at least one or two areas in your home that feel serene and relaxing and streamlined, I think overall you're going to be better off. Again, you don't have to tackle it all at once. Just focus first at least on the areas where you spend a lot of time or that you see first. Anyway, if you liked this video, first of all, hit the thumbs up button. It's a great way to support the channel. Seriously, doing that is a big deal for me, so please take the time to do that if you're willing and enjoyed the video. But also, you might like another video I made that focuses on honestly a life-altering hack for reducing impulsive shopping. If you're interested to see that, I'll be sure to link it at the end of this video. Also, if you're new here and want to see more videos on minimalism, decluttering, and living more intentionally, then hit the subscribe button below. Don't forget to check out the proven link below if you're interested in getting better, streamlined skincare. And thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!